because we have now Shridhar Bhat from Cognizant, which is one of the largest aggregators in this testing services space and one of an iconic organization that we always look up to, a great supporter of STC, and one of the largest employers in the software testing and quality field. We have Sridhar Bhatt, who is joining us with 24 years of IT experience in the area of technology consulting and next-gen QA. Sridhar currently leads the global QE and A function and technology at COE at Cognizant, and he's responsible for building the next-gen QA capability and QA transformation and supporting various quality engineering and assurance offerings. And today he would be speaking to us about how to look at digital transformation from a QA perspective. And I think his view, will be much more summative and it will help us to understand all what we have seen of different perspectives by focusing on quite a few important items. They have a 4C framework, which is going to talk a lot about. So please pay attention and post that we will go into our awards. We already have the results, but I'm waiting for the top company to tell you the results. So please listen to Mr. Sridhar Bhat. Sridhar, over to you.
Thank you, Pradeep. Am I audible?
Absolutely, sir.
Yeah, sure. And is my screen visible? Can you see my presentation?
Absolutely, sir. Lovely
Okay.
Cognizant logo on it. Yeah. In
Thank you,
perspective,
Pradeep.
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Pradeep, for that wonderful introduction. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank QAI and STC for giving me this opportunity to present my white paper. And I would like to congratulate the team for organizing such a beautiful event. And I only hope that next year we will see in person. It's too much of virtual is not good. I hopefully 2023 STC will be in person. So let me get the talk going. I know it's the last session. I'll do my level best. Okay. So let me start with a quote. There is an inspirational quote from one of the Brazilian Formula One driver. His name is Ayrton. He says, "You can't overtake 50 cars in a sunny day, but you can overtake it on a rainy day." It is very pertinent to the current context, isn't it? Wherein there is no dearth for downpour in recent 2 years. Ukraine war is there. You have microeconomic uncertainties layered with pandemic, and then layered with this accelerated adoption of digital. You saw it yesterday. You heard it today as well. Rohit talked about how telcos are impacted. So this is one of the greatest revolutions, and this is the new normal, and this is every day is a rainy day. So what I call this as digital 2.0, and customers have an opportunity to really innovate in this current context, right? And we as a QA community also have a tremendous opportunity to win this race, and that is the topic for my discussion today. Okay. Now, just provide some more color. What we did recently is we did a research in partnership with Everest on a subject called Future of Enterprise QA. Okay, which essentially means that it is very evident from this particular research that enterprises are spending a lot of budget on IT. Their IT spending has not come down. The discretionary spend might have come down. Their pet projects might be on hold, but they still spend a lot of money in the IT. And if you look at the tech trends from that particular research, you see some of them here. Basically, you see those normal suspects: AR, VR, metaverse, cloud, AI, 5G that Rohit talked about. But look at it from an industry lens, right? 5G, we already spoke from a telco standpoint, we spoke about 5G. Now look at some of the unique use cases, right? Wherein BFS, banking and financial services, they are looking at blockchain as a disruption. I thought blockchain will die, but with advent of Web 3.0, I am damn sure the blockchain is going to really pick up. Look at communication industry. OTT has picked up because of this pandemic. Look at Netflix, Amazon, they cannot live without hyper personalization. And retailers are actually competing with them on hyper personalization. They're talking about connected supply chain. So, very important that this technology plays an important role in the domain context. Like Rohit said, there is an intersection of technology or multiple technologies and domain. And that is what makes it very difficult, right? So if I have to decipher this in a very simplified way, okay, there are the customers business processes are front and center of digital transformation, and we use technology at core, technology like cloud, IoT, 5G, whatnot, to transform this business processes. We use our past experience, we use our data to build a lot of intelligence into these business processes and deliver these processes with high-end, cutting-edge user experience using AR, VR. So it is a very, very complex ecosystem, right? And you have to test this ecosystem. When I test from a digital standpoint, there are three things we test. I think this is not new, all of us are doing, but I just want to highlight when it comes to digital, you not only test business processes, you also test technology like 5G. We talked about yesterday, we talked about metaverse and so on. So you also have to test the technologies, and then you have to test the cutting edge customer experience. This is the combination of three that we will deliver as part of our QA engagements, right? So before getting into some of these aspects, I was very interested in two more observations from the research. One of the observations said that most majority of these enterprise customers that we spoke to have a very matured QA practice. Not surprising, but they have a very matured practice. But what was surprising was the next point. But minuscule percentage of customers said that they have transitioned to future ready, what they call business assurance model. Okay, business assurance model is the future, but what business assurance means a lot of things, right? We'll not get too much into it. It talks about business outcomes assurance. You're talking about technology, you're talking about partnerships and so on and so forth. But the future is business assurance, okay, model, and only minuscule percentage are there. So that's the QA opportunity for us to take the customers from current level of QE, quality engineering, to deliver business outcomes, business assurance. I think that is the opportunity, and we can do an excellent job as a QE community to deliver that result and win the race that I was talking about. Okay, in order to achieve that, what should a successful QA organization do, right? Remember, I told most majority of the customers have a matured QA practice. We're talking about having highest level of automation, SDET, NFT, and whatnot, no production defects. So that is the kind of maturity we are talking about. In order to take such matured practices to the next level, what are the three things that we need to do? And there are many things. I'll be talking about three key aspects. The first aspect is what I call as turbocharge the core. For me, core is automation. Even Rohit talked about it. All others, Srivasan talks about it. So for me, automation is the core. How can I strengthen, turbocharge the core? That is the first part. Second point is friend the trend, like the technology assurance part. 5G we already spoke. I'll touch upon other topics as well. And the last but not the least is how do you take the talent to the next level? If you're able to handle these three things, I think we can win this war of talent and war of competition. Let me take one by one, right? Let's start with the first one. I said turbocharge your core means automation. We have been doing automation for last couple of decades, and automation is going to continue for some more decades, right? But it is matured from where it was and where it is today. But it has to move to the next level, right? Like I said, functional automation, non-functional automation, all of these are table stake. It has to be there when we talk about digital assurance. So we are talking about in-sprint automation, right? So automation is table stake. How can I take automation to the next level? There's a lot of talk about how AI can make automation intelligent, and we, in our experience, have seen it. Okay, we use AI as part of entire automation. If you look at the entire testing life cycle, at least automation execution life cycle, there are quite a few handoffs when it comes to testing. For example, which test case to run? I take very simple example. Which test cases to run? We need some experienced person, SME, to tell us which test case to run, what test data to use, how to rerun test cases, what is the way to analyze, how to triage. There are so many manual handoffs. And what I talk about intelligent automation testing is to use this AI to minimize those handoffs. Ideally, it has to be zero touch, but in practice, it may not be. It can be one touch. But our endeavor is to use technologies like AI to make automation zero touch. I think that is a very important aspect. We are successful. We have been doing it for quite some time, and we are very successful. And I'm sure most of the customers are trying it out. That is the first aspect. The second aspect when it comes to automation is hyper automation. Okay, this is a jargon. Many people have many definition to hyper automation, but for me, hyper automation is automating everything, not only just test execution automation. We automate everything. Test data automation. We can do service virtualization. Let me give you an example of hyper automation that we have done in one of the customer engagements. Okay, what happened is there was a customer where they had a lot of problems when it comes to even creating the feature files. Okay, the BAs were struggling. They were new for that particular project, and they were struggling from a customer side. And what we did is we sat with the customer to understand the overall process. We used simple NLP to generate these BDD files in an automated way. So today we are able to generate them, and we are able to reduce the redundancy of those feature files. You can imagine the amount of feature files that are there in such a large organization, but we are able to reduce the effort to create those feature files and minimize the duplication. And we are also able to improve the productivity. We handed over that particular solution to BAs, and BAs are using it. Right? So it is one example for hyper automation. Next example can be optimization. So even though we are talking about digital 2.0, our customers still have legacy suite of test cases, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, which makes no sense in the agile and DevOps context. And is there a way you can use AI to optimize it? Obviously, yes. And that is what we are doing as part of hyper automation. Look at those test cases, use various AI techniques to really optimize those test cases. Just make it as maybe a reasonable test suite which can be executed in the pipeline. That is what I talk about hyper automation. And the last point that I want to call upon here is the autonomous automation. Again, Rohit talked about it. I don't know how many of you seen or experienced a tool called AppVans. Okay, the AppVans tool is very nascent, but it has great capabilities to automatically generate automation scripts. Okay, so it has capability. It uses some level of AI, some level of NLP, and it generates, looking at the application and some manual inputs, it can generate automated scripts in an automated way. And it has a beautiful feature called Blueprint, which can actually reverse engineer application to test. So it looks very nice. Okay, it is very nascent. It will take them at least a couple of years. But these kind of concepts will become mainstream over a period of time. So autonomous automation is the future, like Rohit said, right? And moreover, there are features like auto healing the objects, which is very common. Now we are talking about auto healing the data. We are talking about auto healing the environment. Is it possible? Yeah, it is possible. So the sky is the limit when it comes to automation. So it is our interest to take automation to the next level with the help of market leading tools, a lot of open source tools, and newer frameworks that JavaScript, etc. provides, right? So hope it gives a good sense of how we can transform automation to the next level. I will move on to the next part, which is friend the trend. Okay, it's a jazzy term, but what basically means that how can you do technology assurance? There are two parts to this particular topic. One is how do you assure the technology? Second one is, how do you use this technology to make your testing smarter, deliver better, faster, cheaper? That are two aspects. Let me take the first part. From last 2 days, we have been talking about various technologies. Today, just before this, Rohit talked about how we can test the entire 5G related aspects in the context of telcos, right? So you need to understand the intricacies, the nuances of 5G to understand, to test those technologies. As a first step, okay, we have to understand what is that technology all about and what is QA implication from that technology. Yesterday we talked about how to test metaverse. Okay, I'll give you a very simple example of QA for technology, which is how do you test a cloud based application, right? In order to test a cloud migration or cloud native application, you obviously will have to do the business process assurance, but what are the cloud related nuances? In cloud, you always have this IaaS, the infrastructure as a code, to really spin up that infrastructure. Is it not code? Who tests it? I think it is one of the responsibilities from the testing team to test how the infrastructure is designed and how the infrastructure is created. I think that's one of the great test responsibilities, and that is the cloud nuance. They talk about microservices architecture. How do you test the microservices? How do you test the pub sub architecture? How do you test multi cloud? Customers are going for hybrid cloud. What are the nuances of this technology in addition to the domain is what I talk about QA for technology. So it is very important whenever a new technology is come, we have to understand, be familiar with those technologies and come up with a point of view and a strategy to drive that QA for that particular technology. And I can keep on talking about how you can test AI based application, how you can assure that the model is accurate, model is not biased, and so on and so forth. So it is very, very key to do this technology assurance to ensure that it is 100% compliant. Second part of this entire thing is, how do you use technology? Okay, so we talked about how do you use technology specifically from a QA standpoint, from an AI standpoint. Let me take an example again for you. So one of the customers was going through a huge transformation from on-premise to Azure cloud. It's a BFS customer. What we have done is we had very limited time. I mean, because of a lot of issues, we had limited time and we had to do comprehensive testing. How do you do the testing? We used to test this application a few years back, and this is getting just migrated to cloud, and not much changes as far as business is concerned. Business processes are the same, but the UI is different. They have moved into microservices architecture and moved the data from on-premise to cloud. What we have done is we absolutely used AI. We had data, we had access to production logs. What we did is basically looking at those production logs and our few past experience, we actually showed the business users what are the hotspots, what are the most frequently used transactions in production, what are the user journeys, what kind of data they used, and what are the user loads in the production. So we got that insight from various sources, from past experience, and we came up with something like a test strategy and scoping just using this particular AI-based approach. Okay, that's one example. If I have to talk another example, cloud. I think most of you may be using clouds and container for your automation execution, and it is mainstream again. Now cloud is also transforming, right? We have serverless. How can you transform the execution from cloud to serverless? Is it possible? Absolutely possible. So we are looking at how we can use technologies like cloud, within cloud, how to use containers to make your testing smarter. Again, sky is the limit. So we have a lot of opportunities when it comes to transforming the entire QA. And when it comes to robotic test automation, is one of the key initiatives from our side, wherein when you work on a digital, physical digital boundaries, something like a connected home or similar IoT related ecosystem, there is a need for manual intervention. What we do is, in order to do an end-to-end testing, we interface with the robots. Our automation script talk to robots. In turn, we'll do those physical activities and we get the response back. So it is kind of an end-to-end zero-touch automation that we are going to do. Hope it makes sense to you. And when you combine these two, you talk about platform based approach, you talk about zero touch QA, all of that is a part of digital 2.0, digital assurance 2.0. Moving on, maybe this is one slide of my three-prong approach, this future-proof talent. I think all of us know now, as of now, there is nothing like a I-shaped or T-shaped or pie-shaped. We have moved as an industry, as a community, we have moved to QA, to QE, right? QA to QE is one of the great test programs that we have run in Cognizant, and I'm sure most of others have also done. It is one of the award-winning programs, but that's not good enough, right? We have to again transform our talent, and there is a powerful talent, and we need to ensure that we transform our talent. And what we have seen currently is how do you transform from a QA to QE to a community-based practices. And this is, believe me, this is the trend that is going on even in our customer landscape as well. When I say QA to QE, communities, most of the community predominantly will be QEs, quality engineers, full stack engineer, QE engineers. There may be some part of QE who might become full stack, but you also need some specialized communities. For example, non-functional testing. Domain is a very key community in order to succeed in digital. Enterprise apps, SAP, Salesforce, you need specified skills. We also have architect, QE architect community. So all of this dovetails very well with a pod-based delivery model, right? So what's happening is this entire transition is multifold. So what is important? The mantra here is unlearn, learn, and relearn. What do you unlearn? The old practices, old methodologies. Learn newer techniques to do testing. Whatever we talked about, we learn that. Relearn. In my view, the most important thing to relearn is the domain. If you use this mantra of unlearn, learn, relearn, I think we will definitely supercharge our talent. Okay, those are the three key ingredients of successful QA organization when it comes to a digital 2.0, assuring digital 2.0. But if I have to summarize all of these things in one slide, this is exactly how QA is changing to support digital 2.0. We talked about automation, how automation gets transformed from a traditional fragmented piecemeal approach to an end-to-end continuous automation, which is completely AI-led, right? Very intelligent test automation. We talked about QA scope, how the scope is changing. We used to do functional and non-functional, but it is much beyond non-functional. Resiliency, we talk about user experience. So it moves from functional to end-to-end to technology assurance, and technology assurance to user experience assurance. Again, the scope of QA has been drastically changed. Like I said, when it comes to cloud, you have to do too much of technology assurance as well when it comes to the IAC and things like that. Infrastructure, we gone out those days when you used to use on-premise or VMs. Now it's all about cloud. And now the cloud, we are using intelligent, flexible, and scalable infrastructure. Big change, and it's going to evolve again. Like I said, it's serverless, right? And tools, from a tech base, we didn't talk a lot about tools because it's completely different subject. A lot of tools are evolving, newer tools are coming. But what I have seen in the market is from a technology-based tool to a smart tool, which is DevOps-enabled, AI-enabled. A lot of open source are helping us in doing all of these things, and tools are also evolving. And at the end, like I said, skill sets have to be a community-based model. In order to improve the talent, it has to be a community-based model. I think these are the 5 things I see how QA is getting transformed, and in the context of digital 2.0. Lastly, this is our point of view. I will just summarize in a minute. Our customers are going through this digital journey in a fast pace, may it be core modernization or digital transformation or introducing newer technologies like Industry 4.0, IoT, Metaverse, and so on and so forth. And our endeavor is to ensure to deliver quality at speed using automation that has 4 C characteristics. Okay, this is our strategy for quite maybe nearly 2 years, and it's working well, right? What are those four C characteristics? Your automation has to be continuous. It has to be end to end. It has to be continuous. It has to be cognitive. It has to be intelligent to ensure that there's minimal manual intervention, and it has to be cloud ready. We saw how cloud is evolving. So it has to be cloud ready, and it has to be collaborative using robots, using DevOps. I think it is very important for automation to have these four C ingredients. Okay, with that, I with this strategy, I'm sure that we'll be able to win this race during the rainy season. Once again, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the entire QAI team for giving us this opportunity, and I will hand it over to you, Pradeep, for any questions.
Fabulous. I don't know, in the sense it's very emotionally and passionately, like, the way you pushed us, it's very interesting. And I'm sure, like, it woke us up, and made all people, like, realize that, like, the 4C strategy is a fantastic strategy. I think it covers all the important bases, that everyone is currently focusing on, and especially, so the cognitive aspect will be in the self-healing, and, automated version of the software that we are kind of working with. And I think the collaboration is an essential element. But I think the biggest takeaway for me was we are looking at business assurance as a core concept. I think this conference, everyone was speaking a completely different language. Luckily, I didn't hear the shift left, shift right, and continuous anymore. And then they beat that concept to death last 2 years. But now everyone is saying, "Oh, no, 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 no! It doesn't matter which way we go, up and down or left or right, but finally we have to look at customer and the experience of the customer as a critical element." And they're also realizing that the way in which we can achieve that, is by taking a much strategic approach of technology, people, skills, and your abilities. And all of them have to be put into a certain order, to make sure that they kind of realize the benefit. And the complexity certainly looks there, is very much there, but it doesn't look that complex anymore, right? And when you actually start to look at the problem, and then you say it's solvable now. So I really would take away that quote of yours where you say, yes, we are now prepared for the rainy day. Bring the rain on. In the sense, it's absolutely good. And
Thank you.
really appreciate your session, sir. And I'm looking for questions. If there is any questions on the commentary box. No, I think all of them are very seriously looking forward to the final awards, because all of them are eagerly. That's one thing that keeps them back, and we also designed it like that so that, like, they all stay back. you know, Let me be very honest and blunt about it, because
Yeah,
if I gave the awards on day one, then they would all vanish. They would come back for learning anything at all. So we always keep the awards on the day. So really appreciate Sridhar, and next time certainly for sure it'll be a physical session. We will try and do that. It'll be good to have everyone in a room and then discuss, these things much more concretely. And if there are any questions, Sridhar, we will send it to you on email. It'll be great if you could answer them, and that will be very helpful to the community. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.